Hello, everyone. It's Jerry at the Fledge, and welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. I'm back in Lansing and sitting in the sanctuary again. I'll tell you what, Los Angeles is, I don't know, this is the first time I've ever been to Los Angeles. I've been there about 10 times that I liked Los Angeles and got a really good vibe, really cool energy. And I'll tell you what we're headed for, though, is COVID is coming back. And we'll be having mask requirements again starting tomorrow, and a lot of other restrictions again for right now. It's bad out there in LA County. They are way ahead of us in the number of cases and the kind of controls that they're putting back on. So just want to mention that and be prepared if you're coming to the Fledge or you're going anywhere. This Delta variant is real, and I saw it in action out there. So I'll get off that real quick. Want to give a shout out to thisent.com and Joe Walker and all the things that he's doing. I love what he's doing. So check out thisent.com and learn a little bit more. And then when I asked my guest today who she would like to give a shout out to, she chose Danny Marriott, who is also the spouse of Mike Marriott, and they have Opportunity Arts. So shout out to Danny Marriott for helping our guest out, and I'll let her tell you about that. And I'm going to bring Kylee on right now. How you doing, Kylee?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing well. So you're on a break, huh? Is that what you've been working today?
Yep. And I'll have to go back to work later, and then I'll get to come home and hang out with my husband and my cats and dog.
All right. So that sounds like a wonderful thing. So let's get into you a little bit. Where were you born and raised and went to school? And I like to know all these little bitty things that, even if it's a school I've never heard of. You mind telling us?
Sure. So I was born in a very small town in rural Utah, and my family moved out here when I was like 8. And I've been in Michigan pretty much ever since. I've gone to quite a few of the local schools here. I graduated from Sexton as valedictorian of the class of 2016. So that was fun. Mm-hmm.
That is, that's pretty awesome. Valedictorian. Are you, so that was in 2016. And, well, let me actually, so I just drove to Los Angeles last week. So Saturday to Monday, it took us 3 days. We did about 10 hours a day. And I went through Utah, and I did a show in Park City, Utah on, I think it was Sunday of last week. So about a week ago. And dang, Utah's beautiful, huh?
Utah is very beautiful. We always go out there, and we have to drive the 2 hours from the airport in Salt Lake to my hometown. And the last time we went out there, they flew, there was like, you could see where the wildfires had like ravaged part of the canyon that you have to drive through. And I thought it was just so beautiful because these had, like, the scars from the wildfire it was like the year before, and everything was still just like, it looked almost like it hadn't happened. Like there was charred like trees that were still standing, but most of it had grown back, and there was like greenery. And then just on the other side of the road was where the most recent wildfire had gone through. And it's always like a constant. Like my family was just visiting, and they pretty much, they talk about it pretty nonchalantly, but I'm like, things are on fire out there. Like, yeah. And it was like, they went home and it was 105 degrees at 7 a.m. I'm like, huh, oh my God,
yeah.
No, it was,
So do you guys think that the wildfires are the same as they've been over the years since you've kind of been watching it, or your family has, or are they getting worse?
They are definitely getting worse. They just get bigger and bigger every year. And a lot of it has to do with the lack of forest care. So we think about it as like, we have our national parks, and our national parks are taken care of, but they don't have the natural that Native Americans are providing to those areas. before the national parks were created. And so it's created a lot of fire hazard because there's just a buildup of underbrush and things that the natural ecosystem can't take care of. So the wildfires are getting worse, and they will continue to get worse.
Do you think that, and I don't know how political or whatever this question's going to be, so if you're like, I don't know or whatever, we can just skip it.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think it's more related to climate change or more related to mismanagement of our forest system?
I think it has a lot to do with both because, if we were able to, like, give the forest the management they would require and give those lands back to the Native Americans to which they belong to, we would cut down on that problem. But because there is no maintenance for those forests, they are contributing to climate change as we go. Like, even the heat waves that we've seen here are contributed to the wildfires. And I've noticed it in the last couple of weeks where, like, things look hazy and they just, like, especially with the sun, when it goes down, it looks like burnt orange and it's super bright and, like, scary. But and that's, like, the wildfires are changing the weather patterns that we usually see in this part of the year. So it's definitely a both issue. Mm-hmm.
I watched a TikTok video of a wildfire overtake some firemen in Australia. And
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, I mean, they got out of there and they were safe, but they
yeah.
left one of their trucks with a camera on, and how fast and how vicious that was. This is no joke.
The wildfires are so scary.
Yeah.
Like,
And we did see a lot of burnt out areas. So we'd see trees that were just burnt, but a lot of new brush coming up, and we couldn't figure out whether the fire was last year or 20 years ago. But now you just gave me insight that it probably could have been as early as last year.
Oh yeah. The way that the ecosystem recovers after a wildfire is like nothing short of beautiful. Like, it recovers so quickly. Even the wildlife returns very quickly after the fires be put out. And wildfires are important to the cycle of the ecosystem. It's there to clear out the old and bring in the new, so that things can change and the ecosystem can thrive.
Well, thank you for giving us some insight on that, because I didn't really have anyone to talk to about it that had been there for long enough. I moved my daughter out. She just graduated from MSU in genetics and has a job out there. So that was exciting, but she hadn't seen, she's been going out there for about a year back and forth, but she wasn't sure where the fires were and all of that. She said around Los Angeles, they were worse last year, but I think later in the season. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, yeah.
So you graduate in 2016. You're doing something now. What happened in between 2016 and now?
So, I mean, quite a lot. I went to LCC for 2 years. I got my associate's degree. I was going to be a nurse, and at that point, I had been accepted into nursing school. I was sure, and then I just remember, like, being so upset at nursing orientation and just being like, I don't want to do this. Like, they were like, you can't have a job, and I was like, how am I supposed to, like, live? Okay. And I just cried at the nursing orientation. And I just remember just sitting in this auditorium like, oh, I hope nobody looks at me. And then I was complaining at work about, like, how I felt at the orientation. And Denny had been like, don't do it then. Like, if you don't like doing it, don't do it. And I was like, what? But what about money and financial stability? And she was like, no, just do what you want to do. And so at that point I was like, okay. And I quit nursing school. I already had my associate's degree. So I was like, okay. And I just went from there, and I started just, like, I had always been an artist. I loved, painting and drawing for most of my life. And it helped me get through some really rough times in high school. And when I quit nursing, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I was mostly like, I'm going to be a tattoo artist, because I remember being the littlest of kids and thinking that the pictures on people's skin were the coolest thing. And my grandmother, she has tons of tattoos. Took me to get my first tattoo. So when I, quit nursing school, that is exactly what I wanted to do. And my husband, he's been so supportive in this like journey, and like every step of the way of me teaching myself pretty much how to tattoo, and how to be a professional artist and do the things that I needed to do to be successful. He's been the rock that I really need in the situation. Mm-hmm.
That's, I want to give a shout out to your husband for that, because sometimes it can be so hard with couples because of financial stress and all of that, that we kind of part ways with what we wanted to be or what we're meant to be, to just try to keep the family going and all of that. So shout out to your husband for supporting that. And if you want to say his name or anything.
Yes.
What's his name?
He's the greatest. Yep.
All right.
He's the best.
So thank you, Chase, for helping people be who they want to be and getting art.
Exactly. For helping making the dream work. That's for sure.
I heard the guest on my show yesterday, Dara, she said that their first business, which is Wiseman Tree thing, that's the muscle behind her hustle. So they've got, and I think that it sounds like Chase might be the muscle behind the hustle too. You call him your rock, but.
Oh yeah, so. He definitely is always pushing me to create new things and to find new ways to market things, and just he's always trying to help out. Mm-hmm.
Nice. So are you a tattoo artist?
I don't tattoo the public yet because I'm a little bit nervous. I don't want to put anything on anybody's body that they're going to hate, and I want to be 100% certain that I can provide the best tattoo experience before I start tattooing the public. I do tattoo designs for commission. I'm working on a couple right now. But I have tattooed myself and my husband, my brother-in-law, people in my family that are like, I have open skins, please do your magic. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how well this is going to turn out. And they're like, do it. And
so during COVID, Amazon had like a $100 tattoo kit or something, a gun and all these different colors and all that. So we ordered one. Because I didn't even know you could do that. Like I never thought of tattooing myself. So I did. I don't want to show it because it's going to be all weird. But on my knee here, I gave myself my first, not my first tattoo, but the first tattoo I did on my own knee. So we've been messing around with that all the time. Man, I love just kind of doodling on myself. And it's pretty cool.
Super fun. I love it. It's my husband, he actually bought my first my kit, and he called the tattoo shops, and we were like, hey, what's a good ink? What's a good tattoo machine? I need the whole rundown because this is gonna happen. And I remember coming home one day and he had it sitting out all on the table, and he's like, hey, I got you something. And I just cried. I was like, wow, thank you so much. It was great. It was a good day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So are you going to try to, what do you have to do? Be an apprentice somewhere and get a license or something? Or what are your next steps there, if you don't mind me asking?
So you don't necessarily have to go through an apprenticeship. What they do is they recommend an apprenticeship so that you learn how to run a shop. And I don't necessarily want to run my own shop one day. I want more to run my own gallery and maybe tattoo out of it, but not exclusively a tattoo studio. Mostly you have to get bloodborne pathogen certified so that you know the proper techniques to keep people safe from things like hepatitis and other bloodborne pathogens. That's the biggest thing that you have to do.
So and we'll get off tattooing in a minute, but what's the next tattoo that you want?
I actually have an idea for a Medusa on my rib cage, but I'm a little bit scared because the cages are tough. I've gotten close to the elbow or close to the armpit and close to the elbow, so I'm I know what it's like, and I've been there. I've sat for 4+ hours before, so I could do it, but also like I'm like, oh, do I want to do it though? And I'm always a good tipper, so I'm always like, okay, this is gonna be a $700 tattoo, but I want to tip like $250. So like, I gotta have a lot of money together before I can go in there and be like, here you go. And I have to have the drawing because everything that I have tattooed on my body, aside from my Lord of the Rings scripture, is that I've done it myself. I've gone in there with a drawing and been like, can you put this on my body? And they're like, yes. So
I
that's
guess
like my golden rule.
I have about 30 tattoos, and I think only 3 of them were not drawn by myself, my wife, or one of my kids. So
we love that. It just gives a good personal aspect to your art. It's like, I did that. That's me. Like, it's always good. But custom art. Oh wow, that's a whole other level. I've seen some beautiful stuff.
My next tattoo, I want a spider that's just putting a couple legs up on my face. So I want a face tattoo, but the spider will be down here. So it'll be crawling up is what I'm trying to go for. But we'll see how that goes.
I've seen somewhere it's like a spider behind the ear. And so it's like kind of sneaky. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know about spiders. I can do snakes. That's one of my next tattoos is going to be a snake on the opposite arm. So it's going to be good.
So there's one project. I guess we kind of moved into your projects there. Was there anything you wanted to talk about? Well, let me ask you something. When you were a kid, did you want to be a nurse or an artist or a fireman? I don't know. I'm just throwing fireman.
Well, I did want to be a lot of things as a kid. The very first thing that I can remember wanting to be was an artist. Mostly because I was looking at sketchbooks from my aunt as a kid, and maybe when I got into like the 3rd grade, I was like, I want to be an anesthesiologist because it was a really big word that other 3rd graders could not pronounce. And then as I got older, I was like, I maybe want to be like an engineer, and I was like good at math and science. So I was like, yeah, this seems like a pretty stable career. And I mean, I was doing art the whole time. So I was like, this is, I was just like, that's my hobby. And then I got like into college and I had to do like really hard thinking about what I wanted my life to look like and what I would be doing that would be fulfilling for me. And it always came back to, I want to be creative. I want to do things that are going to impact people, but are going to fulfill me creatively. And that was always the big thing for me.
I thought maybe when you were in 3rd grade, you saw how much an anesthesiologist makes. It takes a lot for me to be able to pronounce it right. And that was going to bum me out that they were showing 3rd grader salary ranges, because I think an anesthesiologist can make like $250 a year.
They make a lot of money. Even like a nurse anesthetist, they make quite a bit of money as well. Sorry if you can hear my dog, but
I can hear your dog, and I love it.
She just decided to show up, but yeah, it was mostly because it was a very big word that everybody was like, what is that? I was like, they're the people that put you to sleep for surgery. And they were like, oh, wow. And I don't know.
Then did you threaten them all with putting them to sleep?
No, they were all kind of like a little shocked about it. They were like, oh, how did you find out about this? Like, I think even my 3rd grade teacher was like, oh, okay. Like, good for you, Kylee. And that was always funny.
And she probably thought, Kylie's going to be a valedictorian someday.
I don't know if that's what she thought, but she definitely thought that I was unique.
Was that in Utah or Michigan?
No, that was at the Windermere.
Windermere.
I think they've closed that down. It was part of the Waverly School District.
Yeah, I think they did close it down. Where'd you go to junior high or middle school? Whatever it was called, middle school. Yeah. I
went from 4th grade up to 8th grade. I went to a Montessori school. I went to Wexford.
Nice.
And I loved it. It was great. That was it was a very unique learning experience. It's very different from a lot of the other schools I've seen, and a lot of like when I talked to people in high school about their middle school experiences, it was very different.
Yeah.
Like my 8th grade class had 6 kids, so it was unique, and I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and it was very unique for a lot of high school.
I love the monastery, the model. Sorry about that. I got a fly messing with me. I love that model. I love how it's so project based. It's so you guys kind of teaching each other and learning, and
Oh yeah.
you get a lot of space to fail, but you don't really fail. You succeed or learn, and
Mhm.
I think it's the right model. Actually, I wish most of our schools would switch to something like that. What
Oh
do you
yeah.
think?
I think that a lot of people could benefit from it. I don't think, and even if it's not like suited to kids who are a little bit like more hyperactive or kids that have like ADHD, I don't think it suits them quite as well. It's not quite as structured for them to be able to move forward. But I think that certain aspects of it could be incorporated into our like normal schools, and that would really help with a lot of the like critical thinking skills and time management skills. That was a big thing in Montessori, is that we had to manage our time so that we could get all of our assignments done. Like we had to do so much math a week and so much reading, and like I just remember being like in 6th or 7th grade and like finishing my whole like math, science, everything so that I could journal the rest of the week, and finishing like by Tuesday morning and being like, I'm just going to write journals for 8 hours for the next 3 days. Like it's fine. And they were like, okay, good for you. And I remember entering into the like Newbery or whatever like book
Yeah.
contest that they have for middle schoolers, and I wrote like this terrible like Twilight spin-off where I was like, yes, let's write about vampires. And I just remember the reading teacher being like, okay, you got this. All right. I mean, okay. And it was great. I really liked that experience. Writing for the Newbery Prize was really, really fun. Hmm.
Did do you think that this attributed to you being the valedictorian?
I think it really set me up for success in high school because I knew how to manage my time really well without anybody telling me how I needed to structure my time. So I knew I had to get, all of my homework assignments done by, a certain day. It showed me how to plan for things, for projects and things like that. So I was always very proactive about my schoolwork, and it taught me a lot about how to be proactive about my schoolwork. And then when I moved into high school, like since Montessori is such like a social environment, it wasn't like hard for me to pick out who I wanted to be friends with and who was going to help me succeed, because when you're in such a small class, you're kind of like, if you do how social circles really work. And that was a lot of things that we like talked about. And we were always like, the teacher we had in my last 2 years, he was very good. And he always wanted us to push ourselves, and always gave us the material to push ourselves. So even though I was in 8th grade, I was like, I'm going to do stuff that's meant for like 11th graders or 12th graders, because high school is scary and I want to make sure that I'm going to do well.
That's
Which is always
I,
good.
I think that's very I guess it was really mature for you to think that way. I don't like that word though, because it has a bunch of other implications with it.
Mm-hmm.
But did you find yourself teaching other kids the skills that you learned once you
Yeah.
got to high school? Like,
Yes, especially in like English. That's an area that I really like excelled in. And so I was in like honors courses and like AP as I got farther into high school, and I would be helping kids with their essays, and even in like classes I wasn't in like honors or AP, I was like in regular chemistry where everybody was struggling. I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn this, and then I'm gonna turn around and reteach this unit to my friend group so that they know how to do it, so that we can all get out of this class as soon as we possibly can. Like nobody's redoing chemistry, not today, no. So
Was that?
it did.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I feel like it did teach me how to share skills for sure. Because when you learn something and then you see another classmate like struggling with it and you're like, "Oh, I'm just right here. Like, let me, help you so that you can go on too." And a lot of it was uh, who can, I remember one activity where we had to learn like our multiplication tables, and for every like number we got to add a topping to a ice cream sundae at the end of the year, and I was like, I want all of all of the toppings. And so I would help my friends and we would practice together so we could all have all of the sundae toppings, and that was like so fun. It was so fun.
This is a skill that we need to have in today's world, right?
Yeah.
Collaboration, not competition, sharing skills, making everybody resilient, and understanding abundance. We haven't even got to your art that much yet, and I already think you're amazing.
Oh, thanks.
So thank you for sharing that too. Let's get into your art, your shooting star. Is that what it is? Shooting Star Arts.
Yeah.
Is that the name of your company, or
Yes.
are you like an LLC or? Yeah.
Yep, I am an LLC and it's just me right now. And I sell stickers, I sell prints, I have a website, it's shootingstarart.com, and I write blog posts about being in the art community and like starting out as a professional artist and like things that I've learned to help me be creative in my everyday life. And it's been really fun. It's been like 6 months of this. Like I really, started in January of this year, and I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. We are gonna be super serious about this. And I just went from there, and it's just kind of blossomed. I originally had my friend helping me out, and then we kind of split ways on that, and now it's just been me. We've been going. I think it's been going pretty good. So I don't want to jinx anything, but it's been going pretty good.
Well, I don't want to jinx anything either. What's been the toughest thing, getting the art done or working on the business side?
It's definitely been getting the art done, because I always feel like, oh, I'm not gonna have enough product. I always think that I like need to be like this huge store and have a ton of products, and like I want to be the biggest and the best that I can be. So I'm always like, oh, always gotta be on the grind. And I think that that's been the biggest challenge for me, is like I'm always like, I have to do something, make something every single day, make a huge quantity of something every single day. And I think that has been a really like kind of a struggle for me. It's like I can do it like 5 out of the 7 days a week, but those 2 days are what I'm going to beat myself up for. And the biggest thing for me has been learning how to forgive myself when I don't like create as much as I want to.
You're going to answer all the questions ahead of time if you keep going. So, are you a pretty prolific artist?
I do, like when I make pieces, I'm usually working on 3 of them at the same time, just because like that's kind of just how my brain works. It has like one idea on the back burner and one idea that's sort of half finished and one idea that I'm working on right now, and it's just how it is. It never stops. They're always flowing. And the good thing about where I work is there's endless scrap paper. So I'm always like doodling on scrap paper, writing lists for myself to do when I get home. And then I come back and I like tape all of my doodles into my sketchbooks and like write all these things about the doodle right next to it, the things I want to do, the color that I want to use, and like it's endless. And my husband's always like, why do you have so many pieces of paper in your pants? I'm like, I needed them. Give them back. Don't wash them.
So I see the piece behind you up there. I think it's kind of a pink or peach. I know it's weird. The cameras are backwards. Is that one of your pieces?
So that one was actually done by my friend Cassie, my best friend Cassie. We had a wine night and we did portraits of each other because she's also an artist. And she, that's the one she did for me. The other one up there, oh, this one, yeah. That one is actually Star Wars fan art.
Oh,
It's
sweet.
Tatooine.
You did it, or
Mhm.
you bought it? Okay.
No,
Nice.
that one's mine. That one's Cassie's.
So, while we're kind of in this space right now, how can people find out more about your art? How can people purchase your art? I'm assuming you sell originals and prints, and you do stickers, like you said. How can we get some of your art?
So you can purchase my art from shootingstarart.com, or if you want to commission a piece, you can
Is it
email
Shooting
me.
Star Art or Arts?
Yep. No S. That wasn't a
Dang it.
domain when I went for it, but it's shootingstarart.com. And that link is also on my Instagram, which is shootingstar_arts. And that's where you can get all of my contact information, DM me about custom commissions, any tattoo designs you want to commission. Those are pretty simple, pretty easy to do. They don't take me too much time. And they're really fun. I really enjoy it.
All right. I screwed up your website the first time I put it in the comments. I'll go back and clean that up later. But I got your Instagram right, and I have your Shooting Star Art. Let's just double check it so we get it right. Is that what it looks like?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. So people can, what do they do? Reach out to you, or you can actually place an order on that site?
Yep.
Or okay.
Yep. You can place orders.
So what about, I'm sure you do pop-ups or something like that too, right? Is there one scheduled in the future?
Yes, I'm actually scheduled to vend at the Chicken Wing Festival at the beginning of September. I will be there the 4th and the 5th. And that is going to be really exciting. I'm having a really fun time making some little magnets of chicken wings on them specifically for the festival. So if you manage to snag those are always fun. And I'll have all of my available originals and prints there to be purchased as well.
What about the first annual East Side Summer Fest? It's free to vendors.
Really? I've never heard about this one.
I might have to send you the information about that.
Oh yeah, that'd be so fun.
I can't remember. It's in August, at the end of August, like the 27th. I should have this memorized. I should have it in front of me. But yeah, I'll send you that opportunity if you feel like doing that too. So what else? Are we forgetting to talk about anything? Is there another project? Do you have a secret? Like, are you a producer of rap beats or anything like that?
No, I'm not a producer of rap beats. I would say that the only other interesting thing about me is that I am a huge nerd. Huge. I mean, if the fan art of Star Wars in the background doesn't tell you, I have Lord of the Rings tattoos. I am a huge nerd.
I'm pretty sure that valedictorian told us that.
Yeah, it does. That's all I need to know. And that love of pop culture started when I was a wee child, when my dad was like, we're going to watch Star Wars as a 7-year-old little girl. I was like, I don't know. This doesn't sound super fun. And they were like, princesses and laser swords in space. And I was like, yes, sign me up. I'm ready. And it has just never stopped since then. I love it. I even love the sequel trilogy that everybody hates on. I love Kylo Ren. I know that that's bad, but I love Kylo Ren. It's never gonna stop.
I don't know why people hate on this. I mean, I don't know. I'm not into it as much, but I think they're all great. I think it's cool.
I love it.
So, does Andy Warhol influence you?
I've tried to stay away from that man because I've heard, many things. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stay in my lane on this one subject. I'm going to be way over here. You talk to me about climate change and politics, and I'm like, I know exactly what lane I'm in, but this one I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
Do you what is your art? And I wish I had a way to like show some of it right now. But what's your art like? I can
So
kind of vibe on the one in the back and kind of see that.
yeah.
But it is small on my screen. Oh yeah, it's
So
beautiful.
most of my art, I'm really influenced by like nature. So I do love right now, I can't get enough of painting mushrooms. I love them. I think they're the cutest thing ever. I don't know why. My brain is just like I have a whole Pinterest board of like mushrooms I want to paint. And I'm just like, why? It's like an obsession. And that's all I can think about is mushrooms. Um, and then a lot of it is influenced by like I don't know, just like beautiful people. I like to paint. I don't know. That's been the big thing is painting people right now, because I find it really challenging, and I want to capture like the glow within a person to make my painting feel like it's real. And
Yeah,
that's been the part that I've been working on for a while. It's like
yeah.
I can't get it right for somehow, but I'm getting
Well,
there. I'm getting there.
so I have a response for each one of those. One is my
Mhm.
last finished painting that I did
Mhm.
is of mushrooms. I am
It's so
totally
fun.
obsessed with them. They are so you can find you can
They're
be
so
like, what? That's a
cute.
mushroom?
Yeah. They're
I-
so cute. I painted some magnets, like wood, like cutouts of or of like so I kind of or I painted I painted mushrooms on wood slices and I made them magnets and they are gonna be so cute. I think they're gonna sell out so quickly. I only got 3 of them, but they're so good. I'm so proud of them. I love
have
them.
you sold a lot of mushroom paintings?
Well, this has been pretty like recent, like in the last
Okay.
like maybe month that I've just been like, I need to paint mushrooms like exclusively. And so that's like I've got like 4 or 5 different ones that are I've got some digitals and I've got some like real ones, real paintings that I've been working on for all the vending events and stuff like that that are coming up.
So
Hmm.
what people, they're hippies, they got a hemp sack, they smell like patchouli, and they're like, I gotta buy those mushrooms, man.
Yes.
Is that your crowd that's buying those?
Um, I would think so, but also like I see like the preppy like e-girls come up and they're like, "Oh, it's a cottage
Oh,
core." And I'm like, "Yes, buy the mushroom. You need it. I know you need it." And that's like the main way that I sell the stuff is like when I'm vending, I have water bottle stickers that say emotional support water bottle. And so every time I see somebody with a big water bottle walk by, I'm like, "I have a sticker for that. You need it." And it works. It works. And I'm just like,
that
wonderful.
sticker's hilarious to me because
Hmm.
these water bottles freak me out. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you carrying this cooler of water around?
Oh yeah, I do it. I have a 64-ounce water bottle that I carry with me everywhere. It goes everywhere. Like every time I leave the house, I could be leaving the house for 5 minutes. It still comes with me in my car. Like I don't go as far as carry it into my car, but I will take it into my car. It goes
But
everywhere.
and it's good it's water because sometimes it's a big Coke or a Slurpee or something like that. And I'm like, man, how can you
Yeah.
drink that much?
No.
So back to people for a second.
Mhm.
Painting people. We just recently, maybe a month ago, started the MSU and the South or the Cedar Street Art Collective's drawing classes kind of combined and
Mhm.
started coming here every Wednesday night.
Oh.
And I was like, all right, so there's a live model. There's a lot of you that keep coming. What is the draw here? I don't think you just want to come see naked people. I think, what's the draw? And it's just that humans can be so hard to draw and to capture the
Yes.
softness that has the hardness that has the whatever.
Yeah.
um
It's
do
like
you
making them tangible, making them feel like real is the hardest. It's oh, it's a
I
skill I want the most.
If I try to draw a face, it's all crooked. I don't know if you ever watched Napoleon Dynamite, but him and I have about the same skill when it comes to drawing a portrait. I cannot draw a human at all. They either look really alien or they look really. Their eyes are too high all the time. I'm like, no, they don't. They're not in the middle. They're way up here.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm not good at it. That's what I'm saying.
Proportions are hard. That was one of the things I learned really early on, because I wanted to draw like fan art. I wanted to draw like anime and the things that I was watching, characters from Star Wars. And I was like, I can't get these people to look like people. And I remember spending many, many nights watching tutorials on YouTube to just try to figure it out. Just be like, I can do it. I just have to figure out how to do it. That was just growing from there.
So, are we forgetting to talk about anything? Is there any other events or promotion or anything that you want to talk about?
Not quite yet. I have something in the works, but it's not solid. It's still up there in the clouds, but eventually.
All right. So everyone has to go to your Instagram, which is shootingstar_arts, and follow you so that they don't miss out. They don't have the fear of missing out on your next big thing, huh?
Oh yeah,
so,
for sure.
So how would you summarize what your mission is? What are you trying to do with your art?
So for me, it's all about being creative. I want to feel fulfilled with every piece that I do. I want it to be something that I enjoy looking at. I know that I'm supposed to think about the audience, but really when I'm creating the art, I want to feel like I love it. I want to be in love with every piece that I do. And I know that that's not always possible, but I will really I love being in love with my own art. And I kind of ventured onto this path because I wanted to have freedom from the mundane 9 to 5. Like, that's something that I really want to break away from. I want to have this creative career that, fulfills me in the most important way, while still being able to provide for myself and the life I want to live.
Yeah. So what do you do every damn day to kind of push that forward?
I try to create as often as I can and with as much passion as I can, so that, I can fulfill the love for each and every one of my pieces. And in my mind, if I have enough pieces, then I'll be able to provide for myself and my husband really well. And I don't know if that's quite true yet, but we're getting there. We'll figure out the secret sauce eventually.
So I know you had kind of already answered that earlier in the show. Let me ask you another question. Do you ever take a day off from that just to, like, how do you get re-inspired? Do you ever get burnt out? Do you ever, like, oh man, I'm blocked. I don't know what to do, so I'm going to go throw this rock against this wall for an hour or whatever?
So when I feel that way, when I'm like burnt out, I'm like, I can't possibly have another idea or write another blog post or do anything in my office, in my art room. I'm like, I'm going to go reconnect with the people that I love. Because usually when I'm getting that way, like I'm burnt out, it's because I've been hyper focused. I've only thought about art for, too many days in a row. So I usually will, spend time with my husband or our friends and our pets. And, I'll FaceTime my mom and tell her that I love her, and we'll go on walks. I just try my hardest to connect with the people around me that support and love me, because that's really what's going to replenish that well in me.
And everyone knows I'm a pet lover, so I'm not ignoring the fact that you've said pets twice now, because we're going to talk about it again. I know that it's coming up for us. So, yeah. But I love pets. I actually want to see your dog. Is it a boy or a girl, and what's their name?
Her name is Indigo. She's a pit mix. Come here, girl.
Well, I missed the name though.
Her name is Indigo, like the color
Indigo.
purple. Come on.
Yeah.
She's a fatty, but
Hey,
She
baby.
hates it.
Hey, Indigo.
Oh, she's a
Oh,
good
she doesn't
baby.
like being on camera.
She doesn't like getting picked up. She thinks that she's a lapdog, but then when you go to actually pick her up, she's like, no, 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 too big for this. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I got a cat like that. Like, will fight me to get away from me, but
And
as
you're
soon
just
as
like,
I
I
set
just
him down,
love you.
exactly. She won't move an inch away from me if I let her down, but she acts like I'm the worst thing ever if I pick her up.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I got one of them too, but she's just so soft and squishy, and she's a half rag doll. So I pick her up and she's like flops. I'm just like, please let me squish you. And she's like, no, no thanks. I'm like, okay. But
we're going to get to that more. Yesterday on the show, or I think you know that we daisy chain the shows together. So a question from yesterday, you pass a question to tomorrow. And Dara had a question for you. And I love this question. What do you like most about yourself? Or you heard it different, but that's what I wrote down. Did you hear
yeah,
it different?
it's the same
You can do.
question. I think she used like, what do you find most beautiful? But I feel like and beautiful are very, like, very similar. It's the
Well,
same
let's go with
question.
what you think it is. Well, what do you find most beautiful about yourself?
So I thought this question was a little bit hard, but I consulted pretty much everybody. I was like, what's great? And they were like, they gave me a whole bunch of different answers. And I really thought about it pretty hard last night. And I was like, oh, this is kind of loaded. Um, and I talked to my husband about it, and he was like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, and it kind of dawned on me. It's like, I am the mom friend, and I love being the mom friend. I love helping my friends and taking care of the people that I love, and I love giving them the support that they need and the listening ear that they need. I think that it is the sole reason that I have so many of the beautiful people in my life that I do, is that I am very defensive of my friends. And once I have you in my circle, you've got to do a lot for me to kick you out. And I love each and every one of the people in my inner circle so deeply that it is like part of who I am, is loving the people close to me. And that's what I like the most.
I think that's an amazing answer. I had no idea what to expect. I always run through how would I answer this question, and I know what my answer would be, but it's not about me today. And I really love that answer. And it goes back to what you said about high school. It goes back to what you said about the monastery. Where does this value come from? Because to me, you understand abundance in a way that I think most people hear that word and they think they know what it means, and they know what it means. But I think that you understand that there's a whole world here that we can all share and be very happy and productive and fulfilled. But we try to steal it from each other, and we do these evil things to each other because we're scared it's scarce, and we're not going to be able to feed our kids or whatever the hell the commercials tell us. I thought we were going to swear.
I know, it just hasn't coming up. But
okay.
For me, abundance has always been something that you create for yourself. So it's never been something that I was like, I have to take from others. Like, oh, being in competition means that I don't get what I need. And I guess that's why I'm not that competitive of a person. I'm like, it's not that appealing. I'm like, I'll still get there. It's no problem. But for me, I think that being able to go to bat for the people that I love means like so much more. It means that I can keep the people I love safe, and then I can help them achieve their own abundance and help them feel fulfilled in their lives. You know, whether I have to problem solve or whether I have to be like, you can come stay the night at my house. Like, obviously you're having a hard time. You should come just, be in a safe place. And it's just one of the things that I'm most grateful for. And I think that was kind of instilled in me as like a little girl, because I'm the eldest daughter. So it was always like, Kylie, you have siblings that you need to look out for. And I was like, got it. And I took that to heart. I was like, nobody is going to mess with my siblings except for maybe me. But no, it's not going to happen. Those were my siblings and they were not anybody else's. Like, don't mess with my siblings like you're their sister, because you're not.
Your sentence, your phrase, abundance is something you create for yourself. I always have looked at that from a community perspective. I believe communities can create abundance for themselves. I've never really examined it from the individual perspective. So you've given me an epiphany there that I have to look into. But it makes me want to ask you one more question about this. Do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm what they call an ambivert. So I
I
love
knew you
being
were.
around people. I love it. But also at the same time, I work a retail job. So I already get so much like face-to-face interaction with people. So then I come home and I'm like, oh my God, I need to be very quiet for at least 3 hours before I can even utter another word. And then if I have some time off from my retail job, I'm like bubbly. I'm like, let's go see our friends. Let's go call my mom. Let's go do this and this and this and this. And I'm ready to go. And I'm like, I could go to 100 art events and be like the most vivacious person ever. But then the second I leave that event, I'm like, I need a nap. I need to watch a movie and not say anything for a while.
I knew that was going to be your answer. I knew it.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually why I asked the question, because you seem like you get your affirmation from within.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not asking who gives a shit what you think, because kind of like I know that this is good, so I don't need your affirmation. But at the same time, you can tell from your smile and your face and that you're outgoing, and that must be exhausting.
Oh, it's tiring, but it's the aspect of my personality that I think really it helps in the career that I'm trying to pursue. So I can be both. I can, relate to people who are maybe a little bit more withdrawn, and at the same time I can be like, big and bubbly like, some of the other artists in our community.
I'm exactly like that. I am exhausted when I go home because I have to interact with so many people. And it's not that I don't like them. It's not that, but I just don't get energy from it. It takes energy from me. I get energy when I'm diving into one of my journals or diving into my work or diving into, the people close with me don't make me feel like that. But, 100 people walking up to me every day that I have to be on the right. And it just, I knew you were that. I could just tell. And I wonder,
it's definitely a vibe.
I actually wonder if more people that understand abundance aren't also that. That's what I'm trying to, I've got to study that actually. But what do you have a thought on that?
I think that's probably pretty accurate, because I feel like a lot of my understanding of abundance and bringing fulfillment into my life has come from introspection and thinking about my life and, the things that I've learned and, really diving deep into the way that I think about things. And if I were just an extrovert, I would be constantly searching for like outside validation and, these outside connections to help me form what's inside. But since I can build that on my own, it's helped me realize that even like I can build my life outside, and I can help others build their life outside of just in my mind. So
this whole part that you're talking about is a gem of this entire series of shows. I'm going to tell you that right now. That's a gem that you just said.
Love it.
So tomorrow, my guest hasn't confirmed yet. Usually, it's not scheduled yet, but I've got the person in mind. I hope that they say yes. They've got to respond. Everything I do now is revolving around TikTok. I learned that. I learned adult ADHD. This guy going through it yesterday, and I'm like, shit. Well, I guess that's another thing I've got that I have to deal with, because that is definitely me. What he was talking about. So Forget who it is. What question would you like to ask my guest tomorrow? Because there will be a guest. And by the way, you're episode 330. So we've done this 330 days in a row without fail. So I won't get it wrong tomorrow.
Hey, that's gonna be great. I want to ask your guest for tomorrow whether they're a dog person or whether they're a cat person. I feel like that's really indicative of a person's like personality and how they like to interact with other people. And it's always one of those first questions that I ask people that I meet. I'm starting to become friends with somebody. I'm like, do you like dogs or do you like cats better? And I think
so. Do you have an answer to that?
I am definitely a cat person. I've had dogs all of my life. I own a dog. I love her so much. We're best buddies. But sometimes dogs can be a lot and they don't respect your boundaries. They really just want constant companionship. And for some people, that's great. And I think that's usually extroverted people that are dog people. But I would say for myself, having a cat is like being in a companionable silence with someone that you love, because cats, they just want to chill. They don't need a whole lot. They kind of have their own lives going on in the background, and then when they really want your presence, they're going to ask for it. And when they don't want your presence, they're going to let you know. And I find that the people who don't like cats or have had bad experiences with cats tend to not, I just don't think they understand how they communicate. And that usually will adjust how I communicate with them. Because then that means I need to be a little bit more upfront. Be like, I can't be subtle. I gotta tell you how it is. And it's worked. It has worked.
So the way you just described that, I didn't think about this until just now. I want to tell you a story about. So when I grew up, I was definitely a dog person, and it had a lot to do with my mother. Didn't like the smell of cat urine, and all of those things that can come with it. So we never had cats when I was young, and she's evolved. So now she's a cat person and a dog person too. But I never owned a cat of my own until March or February of March of right when COVID was coming on in 2020. One of our cats. So my kids owned a cat and my wife owned a cat, but I never had a cat myself. So I pick out this little black cat that my wife says is a boy, and I'm like, okay, this cat, this is gonna be my first cat, and I'm just in love with this thing, and I'm like, all right. So if you stare in the eyes of somebody, then you can get an emotional connection with them. So I'm going to stare at this cat in the eyes and see how long we'll stare at each other. And when I'm done, this cat's going to be in love with me.
Cat's going to be in love. Yeah.
Right? So I'm doing this at lunchtime, and I come back to the fledge after doing this for like 15 minutes, and all I can think about is this damn cat, man. It backfired on me. I'm in love with this cat all of a sudden, and I cannot. I bought a website for him. I got an Instagram account. I'm going to start a TikTok, all kinds of different things. This cat just completely took my heart. It backfired on me, but I was in California for a week, and I could not. Where's my cat? What's going on with my cat? How come my cat?
Send me photos of my cat.
FaceTime. I needed FaceTiming with my cat. So all of those things. So I've definitely. It's not that I didn't like cats. It's that I was taught sort of to not like cats. And we've always had. I think my entire marriage, we've always had a cat. And I've always loved the cats, but I never felt like a cat person until just this last year.
Connection. Yeah.
Yeah. So amazing.
That's super similar to how I found one of my cats. My cat, I saw her sitting in a ditch And I had told myself, like, once I'm an adult, I'm gonna get my own. I want a black cat specifically because I was like, I loved Salem as a kid. I was like, I want a black cat. And we had gone up north for my husband's 18th birthday, and I'm walking around the cottage, and I look across the street, and there in a ditch was this tiny little black kitten, and I was like, this is the universe giving me exactly what I've asked for. And so I walked right up to this cat. She just meowed at me, and I picked her right up, and I asked all the neighbors, I was like, is this your cat? And they were like, no. And I was like, it's my cat now. And she's going to be 6 years old this year. And oh my gosh, she's so cuddly, so lovey. Like, I love her to death. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot a part of my story too. So I said, my wife said it was a boy. Mm-hmm. Well, we took him to get fixed, and the vet calls us a couple hours later and saying, I can't do this. This is a female cat. So now we just say that they're gender fluid. And so we call them they, but we'll say he and she and they. So
hey, that's cute. I love that.
Gender fluid. And she did end up getting fixed, but not at that time because the vet said, you were wrong. You did not sex this cat.
Gotta schedule a different appointment.
Happiness, sadness, joy, hope, and or love. Which word or words would you like to talk about?
I'm gonna go with love. Mm-hmm.
Love?
Yeah, that's been the vibe.
So why, and I said I'd ask you questions, and I'm throwing it right back at you right now. Why'd you pick love? You said it's your vibe?
Yeah, mostly because I'm staring at my houseplants that are right here, and I always get like this overwhelming feeling of like, I love them. And I know that they love me because I feed them and water them and put them in places that help them thrive. And I think that's just kind of been on my mind lately too. I've been, spending a lot of time with my husband, who I love dearly, and our friends who have become, an intrinsic part of my life. And we talked about being, that mom friend. And I think if you're going to be that mom friend, you have to love everybody that you mother so deeply. And Denny's the one who was like, you care about people. And Denny's one of those moms in my life and my own mother. They all have that like deep love for not only like you, but everyone around them. And that's just, I just love that. It's just great. It makes so many things so much better. Like, your mom friend's always going to have your back. Your mother figures are always going to have your back. And it's such a beautiful way to know that you're loved by everyone that you meet. It's just mother them and love them.
You said earlier that people would have to do a lot to get kicked out of your circle. Do they have to do a lot to get into your circle?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I
Both ways?
have learned to be very picky with who I let in, because who I let in is who is going to influence my life, who's going to help me grow, who's going to hold me back. So, and sometimes I need that. Sometimes I start popping off, and they're just like, whoa, calm down. You need a minute. And I think that that's really important. You got to have this group that you can trust and who can trust you. Because it's such an important like aspect in being able to grow up to be a healthy adult and to contribute to society, is being able to love and trust others.
Are you an empath?
I wouldn't label myself an empath. I would say that, trauma has helped me learn how to identify other people's emotions so that I can be aware of them and, keep myself and others kind of in a good spot in interactions. So I don't think I'm inherently an empath. I think it's something that I had to learn. Mm-hmm.
So I can, at least I used to consider it. I've been really examining this introvert extrovert thing, and what that, I guess kind of does to me, and how that kind of drains me. And it makes me wonder if, how we say to love everybody, or religions say that a lot, right?
Yeah.
And is that really healthy? Is that really a good thing? Or is it better to have like a tighter squad that can be more effective together instead of this diluted, like, do you dilute love? Is it abundant? Is it infinite? If I love two people, is it half the love to each, or do they both get infinite? What's half of infinity? All these things I used to think about when I was a little kid. Um, what are your thoughts on that?
Um, for me, since I have a low social battery, it's important for me to keep my circle small because I feel like that is what's um, beneficial for me. It's literally how my brain works, how I like to live my life. For somebody who's an extrovert, they might love having a big circle of friends who can all go out to places together and sit 15 to a table at Applebee's and be that kind of a party person. And I think that for them is really fulfilling, and that's how they experience love, is they want to give it to everyone all of the time. But for me, my love is really hard won, and when I give it, it's worthwhile. You are my ride or die. If I give you that love, that means a lot. And once I've lost that trust for you, it's really hard. And that's what I've told my husband, is like, this is how I have learned to live my life, and this is how, I work to trust everyone. I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. But if you've been in my circle and you decide to do something that that is just not quite right, that is crossing too many lines all at the same time, and I'm like, you got to win this now. You are now in trouble. The mom finger comes out, and so do the crazy mom eyes, and I'm like, you have got to check yourself real quick. And most of the time they're like, oh shoot, dang, I gotta fix this. And they're like, okay. And that's just works.
I really like the way you view love. I think that, I think of it in tiers. I've got, my wife and my kids, and it's all locked up right here, and ain't nobody getting in there. And then there's another where I've got all of my friends that, I trust and I believe in. And then I have this whole community that I'm in love with. I know that there's special people out there. I know that everybody is going through all of these different things, but it's almost like a pyramid where it's a few people, then a little bit more people, and then everybody else. And I want to love everybody else, but damn, sometimes that just means I'm not going to swing at you.
It's hard. Yeah.
So
it just means you're not going to get swung on. That's all you get today. I relate to that really hard, but it's all about the concentration of love. So some people get the purest and the closest to me, the most undiluted type of love. And then, as you get farther out into that circle, it's like, I will give you one of my snacks. I will share my food with you. That's what I got for you today. I'll remember to grab you a water bottle from the fridge, but that's about it.
And that's okay though. That's systems thinking, right? There's continuums and there's spectrums, and sometimes they're this and sometimes they're more out there. I lost track of time. This interview has flown by. I'm sorry if I've taken too much of your time. Thank you so very much. I have a lot more insight. I hope that people watching do as well. And what a wonderful, I guess should we say something about Ace of Clubs? Because you're the Ace of Clubs, right?
Yes, I am the Ace of Clubs. It's been really exciting. It's been quite just eye-opening. And I've learned so much about being a professional artist from these ladies, because they've been a professional artist longer than I have, and they all work in different mediums, and they are so inspiring. I love being a part of this group. I love that Mike considered me for this group, because when he broached this, I had just started an LLC. I was like, I don't know. I mean, if you think that I can do this, then I'm going to do it. And he was like, yes, go for it. And I'm so glad that I took this opportunity. It's been so fun.
So Mike Marriott, Opportunity Arts. Can you also name the other 3 aces?
Yep. Autumn Hopkins, she is the Ace of Hearts. And then Mila Lynn, she is the Ace of Diamonds. And Sarah Sanders is the Ace of Spades.
Yeah. And you're the Ace of Clubs.
I am the Ace of Clubs. It's been
nice.
Wild. And so many more new things to come from us. Those are a little bit farther down the road.
Do you so Mike talks about the new renaissance happening right here in Lansing.
Mm-hmm.
You feel that too?
I do. I feel like our art community is really starting to like come into itself, and is starting to become such a big part of our community. Where before it was kind of just over here, like we did our thing, and now we're really starting to take over the culture of the city, and it's starting to be like reach into other aspects of the city. It's always like, oh, well, what art are we going to incorporate into this, and just all of those things. And I love that. I love that the art is now, the city is becoming the art, is really what it is.
Yeah, I like it too. Such a cultural influence, artist. So, thank you again very much for coming on the show. Everyone, I will definitely have a show tomorrow at 2 p.m. We'll see who is my guest, but I think I've got somebody special coming on, so I'll try to confirm with him. And what would you like to take us out with, Kylee?
I would like to quote Mr. Rogers and just thank everyone for being my neighbor.
I'm not going to add to that. There you go, everyone. Love you all, and but love you in different spectrums and continuums and dilutions.
Yep.
But love you all nonetheless, and we will see you tomorrow. See you, Kylee.